Okay, page 4. In your reserves, you will find this. Flip it over really quick, and you will be looking at it like this. So we do want this side, but I want to make sure that you cut this right. So looking at it like this, measure over 8 inches and cut it. Stick this off to the side. We'll get to that. Flip this over. This is our base page. In your reserves, you should find a piece of cardstock. What we're looking for is, this is 8.5 inches wide. What we're going to do, and this is actually 5.5 inches this way, we're going to measure over 4.5 inches and cut that. Your final piece here is 4.5 inches by 8.5 inches. Let's go ahead and punch across the long. Let's grab our score tape, place it at the bottom, remove it, the backing, and let's mount this, leaving flaps on both sides. Turn it over, and we are going to tack this. Okay, grab this. This should fit nicely. Let's glue that down. This is a great album for beginners to do. It's easy cuts, an easy trim punch, and I hope you're enjoying it so far. Okay, in your reserves you will find this piece on the back. It looks like this. Stick this on your paper cutter and trim off this piece. Okay, let's use some scrap cardstock. What you're going to want to do is grab a piece, and all we need, actually I'm going to tell you what we need so we are both on the same page. Let's start off with grabbing a piece, a strip like this, measure over 1 3/4 inch and trim that. Now all we need here is one wide enough, and place your piece down on it. You'll leave a 1/16 inch of craft showing on this side and a 1/16 inch of craft showing on that side. I'm just going to use my scissors here. Okay. Now, take this and let's punch across the top. Let's grab our toppy crunch, ink around the edges here. And then we're just going to glue this down. There we go. Oops. And we're just going to leave that 1/16 inch of craft showing on that side. And that side. This now is our pocket for right down here. I'm just going to use some glue on this. Just run a little bit. And I'm going to place it right like this. In your reserves you will find a very thin piece. On one side might look like this, the other side this. Place this down even with the side of here, and you're just going to trim this to fit. I think that should be good. And then I'm just going to add some ink around the edges of this whole thing. I'm going to apply some glue, and I'm going to mount this right there. just like that. Now you should be able to slide like a tag or a small photo in there. Let's work on our fold out page. In your reserves, you will have this. On the back it looks like this. We are going to need this, and we're going to grab a piece of craft cardstock. Okay, measure over 5 3/4 of an inch and cut it. Now measure over 7 1/8 of an inch and cut it. Before we put this on our scoring board to score, let's just make sure that this will fit and leave us some craft showing around, and mine fits and yours should too. Let's get our scoreboard out. We're 5 3/4 of an inch across. Our first scoring line, and I have to use a pencil here, is at 5 1/8 of an inch. You will score it. And at 5 5/16 you're going to score your second line. So let's do that, and then we're going to fold on the lines. Okay, flaps are off to the right. Let's get another piece out that we need. In your reserves, you do have this piece. What we're going to do is we're going to take this entire strip, enjoy the moment. So let's cut on the line here between these. So this is how I did it. The Moments with You and Embrace Life can go back into reserves. What we're looking for, and I am just going to take my scissors, is this middle piece. And I am just going to cut it on the right side of that blue scroll and the left side. These two, Enjoy the Moment, can go back into reserves. Grab your Toffee Crunch, and we are going to ink around the edges. My husband just got home from work, so I'm going to wrap this up. I've inked around the edges. Grab a piece of scrap cardstock, and I just grabbed this, and all I'm going to do is apply glue to the back of this, like so. And I'm just going to place this right in the middle, leaving about a 1/16 of craft showing on the top. Now I'm just going to place this on my paper cutter and leave a 1/16 of an inch of craft showing on the bottom. So trim that off. Okay, I'll trim this up. Grab this, and what you're going to want to do is place this right across to where you can still see most of the scroll. Here and here you are going to have an edge of that part of that scroll that does flip around to the back. Well, I'm going to shorten these up just a hair. I don't need all that. So once I have it like this, and I will show you what it looks like on the front here in a moment, is I'm going to pinch it to hold it. I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to tack this down, and I did move, so I'm going to bring this right back up. When you move, you do have to redo. So pinching it now, bring that over, and I'm going to tack that. I did move just a hair, didn't I? Okay, pinching it, and I'm just going to wrap this around the back like so. Tack that down, and I got everything under the sun sticking to me here. Okay, so that is what you should look like. Now let's apply glue to the back of this, and we are going to mount it on our fold out. And then we're gonna, and remember your flaps are off to the right on this, tuck them all back underneath, and mount this, and you'll have your crafty showing, crafty cardstock showing all the way around. Make sure you push it down good. Okay, I will be back in a flash in just a little while, and we will be able to mount this and then work on the inside. Okay, I am back, In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. On the other side is this. Let's trim off this top piece. Measure over 4 15/16 and cut it. That is just a hair under 5 inches. The larger piece goes in our reserves. So let's go ahead and measure down 7 inches and cut it. Or measure over. Let's check our cut. And this should fit in here, showing a little bit of craft off to the right, left, top, and bottom. And mine does. In your reserves, you will find this. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to go ahead and cut this piece out. So I'm going to put this on my paper trimmer and trim that and divide those two. In your reserve craft pile, you should have one that's going to be long enough to get across and across. And this is approximately 4 3/4 of an inch tall. I'm going to use that. And I'm going to punch across the long way. Okay, I got that sitting off to the side. Let's do a little trimming. If you notice, if you put this on here, you are going to be just a hair wider if you center this on each side. In that case, all you're going to do is take a pencil and mark the edge and trim that down so it's a better fit. And we're going to trim this a little bit, but let's do it the easy way. Whoops, I'm going crazy with the glue. Here we go. Bring it all the way up underneath your trim, centered. And I think I'm even. I can't tell from where I'm standing. Okay. Let's trim off the excess. This is ready to mount on this, so let's grab our score tape. Remove the backing off the score tape and mount this. And we're just going to tuck around the back flaps there. Tack them down like we always do. This is ready to mount, so let's open this up. Flaps off to the left. We're going to apply glue all over the back of this and mount this like we normally do. Okay, this is ready to attach to the side, and this is done the same way we always do. Just kind of hold it there until you see that it's even, pinch and hold it, and then let's tack that down. One thing you want to be careful about is not getting that seepage to where when you open it, it shows. So, and I have a little bit there. I'm just going to use my nail. I had a feeling that was going to happen. Okay, so it is good. It is on, and the only thing left is to put a butterfly right up here. If you would like to add a blue flower, go ahead and do so. I'm not going to on this particular page. Okay, flip it over. We want score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 short ones, and mount that in our book. Okay, page 4 is complete. Let's move on to page 5. Page 5. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. On the back side is this. Now, I do realize we already have this in our reserves, but we don't want to touch that right now. What we're looking for is this. So let's go ahead and trim this off to start. Let's go ahead and measure over 6 inches and cut it. Go ahead and flip yours over for a moment. And what we are going to do is looking at, we need some of these pieces. So what we're going to do on this is we are going to turn this one and measure over 8 inches and cut it. All right, we're going to get these ready, and we're just going to set these off to the side so we don't get them confused with the other ones we have in reserves. On this one, looking at it like this, measure over 8 inches and cut it. Okay. What I want you to do is sit these two off away from your reserve pile. Okay, actually set them off looking like this. I just don't want us to get mixed up with what we already got going here. We're going to work with this one, and for this, just set this right off to the side. We will get to that in just a moment. We need some crafty cardstock. Okay, sorry, I've got my laundry going in the background here. Measure over on your cardstock 4.5 inches and cut it. Next thing we are going to do is punch along the long side, all the way across. We're gonna put our score tape down at the bottom and attach this pocket like we've been doing. Wrap it around the back. And we're going to go ahead and tack that down. Okay, once we got that glued, tacked behind there, we're going to go ahead and glue this right on down like that. So let's get our glue and apply it and put that down. In your paper pack, get this out of the way here, you will find this sheet on the back. It's the coffee bean print. We're going to go ahead and cut this out. Got mine out. Let's put this back in reserves. Grab a piece of cardstock, and we are going to glue this down and do like we've been doing previously. Leave it about a 1/16 of an inch frame around it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut around that. Okay, this gets placed just like this, and you can use your glue. So you run a little bit of glue around the bottom, and just right up a little bit up on that side. And all you do is place it at an angle. Hold it down there. Okay, let's work on that magnetic fold. Check your reserves, but what we're going to need is a piece of cardstock that is 5 3/16 of an inch wide by 8 inches tall. So let's go ahead and cut a piece like that. Okay, now in the combo pack, there came the side that I talked about a little bit in the materials list of different ways you can use it. We are going to use it here. Now remember, mine is not the matching one that goes to this. I have mine at the hobby store. I'm going to use what I have here. All you're going to do is clip the bottom. You'll want to make sure you line that up on both the bottom corners. And then, see, mine isn't going to line up right on this, so I'm just going to wing this. And then you're going to place it on your, and mine isn't going to work out. I might have to redo mine here. Good enough for what we're doing. I have another one just in case ready to go. Anyway, this is what we want. Now, in your reserves, you will have these. These are not the two pieces I just had you set off aside. Okay, go ahead and put this one back in. This is the one that we are looking for. And what you're going to do is measure over 7 inches and cut. Let's trim this up, measure over 1 inch and cut it. Okay. I'm going to turn mine upside down now. I'm going to measure over 1 inch on this side and trim that. Okay, a moment of truth. Looking at your thing here, just place this and make sure you've got craft on each side. You're probably going to have about 3/16 or an eighth on each side. As long as you're fitting like that, you are good to go. So let's go ahead and score this. Okay, I've got mine laid out here. I do need my pencil for this. We're going to make 2 score lines. Alright. We have a very small flap. Probably should have done a little bit more, but it's enough flap to do what we need to do. It's not going to hurt nothing. I usually just allot for bigger flaps, but this is not going to hurt a darn thing. So let's go ahead and we're not going to attach it. Let's do this a different way. Make sure you fit first. If you were to put this all the way down, we're going to cover, I'm covering up some of this, but right underneath this like grill looking pattern, bring it down. You should still see some craft cardstock, which I do, and of course I've got my spacing there and there. So I want to glue this down on the front first, so we're going to do that. Perfect. Now all we need to do is flip that up. In your paper pack you will find this on the back. It looks like this. Let's go ahead and first trim off the top. Okay, measure over 5 inches and cut that all the way down. Now measure down 7 inches and cut it. We are going to glue that down right here. Okay. In your reserves you will have this sentiment piece. Let's cut out this one. It's the Perfect Blend Coffee with a Friend. Okay, so we have this. I didn't do anything with this. I left it as is. Now, I did use some thin lace right across the bottom. By the way, we just got in our cut by the yards. This is a thinner lace, and I'm going to use it right down here. Kind of pretty, isn't it? I'm not sure if you can see that. I thought it was. So I'm going to use my white glue. Well, this is going to be drying. I'll show you the different laces we just got in. Okay, this particular one just goes right at an angle there, so I'm going to apply some glue. And to give it a little color, one of these blue velvets flowers. More color anyway. Okay, so thin laces by the yard that we now have is this one, which I just used. And that is, I think it's a little more than a 1/2 inch on this. Maybe it's just, this one is 3/4 of an inch wide. We did get a 1/2 inch in, which is really pretty too. It's a lighter lace. So, and then we got some nicer, the more decorative lace in, and this is actually about 1 3/4, and we got this in white, ivory, and black. Now, okay. See, I think that is good. I'm going to set this off to the side because now what we need is the bottom half for this. Oh, really quick, we do need our magnet right here. So let's grab one magnet and, wow, got a ton of magnets. And we're going to stick it right here. We do have to cover that. We'll cover that in a minute. Okay, we're just going to get this going for now. Stick that right dab at the bottom like so. Now let's set that off. Okay, cardstock. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 5 3/16 inch wide by 5 3/4 inch tall. Once you have that, let's put this down. And this is 5 3/4 inch long this way. So let's go ahead, we're going to give ourselves a little bit more room. At the 1/2 inch mark, go ahead and make your score, first score line. And then at the 5/8, which is right here, we're going to make our second score line. I'm going to move this over so I can get it. There we go. Let's go ahead and fold. I'm going to erase my pencil mark. Okay, let's go ahead and flip this over. The flaps are at the top. In your reserves, you will have this piece. On the back, it looks like this, and it will be a perfect fit right here. Also in your reserves, you will find a strip like this. We need that. Let's grab a piece of cardstock, and you may have one that already is pretty close. I'm going to need to cut this down, so I'm going to do that. First thing I want to do though is I'm just going to place my strip right up like this, and I'm going to trim it so that it's going to fit. Now all I have to do, because I like easy, all I have to do now is I'm going to leave a little bit of an area, a little bit for flaps to fold back around my page. Ooh. I'm just going to put it just like that, and I'm going to trim this down. Okay? These are going to be flaps to wrap around the back. Now all I'm going to do is trim this excess off. Okay, I am looking at it like this. I need my score tape, which goes along this side. And it's time to clean up some of this mess around here. My working area keeps getting smaller and smaller. Just place it up here. We're going to do this little side pocket. Wrap our flaps around the back. And let's just tack those down. Okay. Now remember, flaps are at the top here. Now I can apply glue. And I'm placing it like this, making sure I'm not on my score lines. I need to bring this down just a hair. There we go. Perfect. Okay, this can be attached now because we're going to want it attached. So all I'm going to do, the first thing is like we would do a normal, is I'm going to pull it to where it looks even in between and it looks straight. Pinch it, hold it there. If it slips, start all over. And I'm going to tack that. Bring that down. Perfect. It's time to attach this one before we put the mate to this here. And we want to make sure that this is going to be straight. So I'm going to hold this in a way I think you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just unlining it like so. I'm pinching to hold it. It looks straight to me. And I'm going to keep it down. My flower is there. It's alright. Still going to tack down. Alright, now let's see how I did. Now I'm going to push this up like it's supposed to be. Yours should be sitting like that too. Okay, get the mate to this. And this is the easiest way to line up your magnets when you've placed one and one's underneath and you have no idea what to do. Put your magnet underneath here like I've done. I just put a single dot of glue in the middle, and I let it naturally fall. If I need to guide it, if I'm a little off to make sure that that's going to hold it straight, I'll guide it. But this, I just push on the magnet now. Now watch, when you lift, you'll see that glue dot. That's where this magnet needs to be. Now I can place my paper over this. In your reserves, you will find this. On the back is the beans. I'm just going to flip this on over like this. Measure over 5 inches and cut it. Okay, now measure 5 inches this way and cut it. This should be a good fit. Mine is. Yours should be too. Let's apply glue. And then the only thing left to do is a little decorating on the front of the page. There we go. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, flower. I used the lily, and all I did was do some different colors, and I'm going to put that right up here. What I used was I stamped the image of the sunrise lily with the same stamp we've been using. I stamped it on white cardstock with Toffee Crunch. Then what I used was summer sky to go around the edges, and I even pinched the flower and ran my dauber just right there to get those lines right in the middle. And then all I did was I just did the thing. And what's different about this flower look is that I did not do like the pinching of them all together. I just went ahead and did everything else that I've showed you, just without the hand pinching. And then I did my leaves. I did cover it in glossy accents, and I just stuck a little bit of lace back behind it. And if you can do whatever it is that you would like to do. You can even darken this up if you want to add some Paris Dusk. Watch this. I'm pretty brave after already creating a flower, but it should not mess up. You can even go back and get some darker on these tips to even give it more life, like I'm doing here. Just get my lace out of the way so I don't get that. So you can do a lot with these colors. And then I went back with the Toffee Crunch, and I added a little bit of that to do it. But here's my flower, and all I'm going to do is glue it down right here. Right like that. Let's get a flat back pearl, or whatever you'd like to use. All I'm going to do is stick a pearl like that, the dome, right there. Put a dab here. Oops, don't think I quite got enough on that. And I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I flip this over. When it is all dry, I am going to flip it over, and we'll do the same thing with score tape. Around the outside, one down the middle, 2 little ones on either side, and then it gets mounted in our book. Oh, one more thing. Grab some lace if you want. I used a ivory lace up here. Now this is white, but it still looks okay. Let me show you something else you can do to spiffy up some of your pages. On this flower, I'm just going to stuff some lace little tails right underneath there. Just like that. And if you want to add more flowers, you can do so. For these little die cuts, some of you who are die cutting you can ink around and then just layer your little flowers, and you can even just start sticking them wherever you want, you know, and using them. That would have been cute down there too. But those are options for those. Okay, page 6. Grab a piece of cardstock, measure over 4.5 inches, and cut it. This is a really easy page. Remember those 2 pieces that I told you to stick off in a special spot? This is it. So here's our base page, here's this, and here's the piece of cardstock. All we're going to do is trim punch across the top. Let's get our score tape, and this is just a pocket page. Flowers. Flower. Okay, and we're just going to mount that. And we're going to wrap these around the back and tack it down. Let's grab this piece, apply some glue, and put it right on our page. Okay, let's get our flowers. I've got a couple flowers. I haven't glued it down yet because there is a sentiment, and it is in this one. It's in the moment of relaxation in every sip. I really am horrible about cutting around curves like that. All right, let's get our pieces ready to go here. First things first, let's glue this down. I didn't do anything really special with it as far as cardstock. We can just lay that right on down there. This one goes right there. This one right there. Right like that. This page is complete. Let's flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 little ones on either side, and let's mount that in our book. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet on the back. This is the darker one. On the back, it looks like this. Let's go ahead and trim off the top. Then we're going to measure over 6 inches and cut that right down the middle. Place one in reserves. Now let's measure over 8 inches and cut it. Grab a piece of cardstock, and you're going to cut a 6-inch by 10-inch piece. Now we're going to go ahead and trim punch along the long side. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and place mine down, and I have the tips against the side here. At 4 3/4 of an inch, let's go ahead and place a score line. Then we're going to turn it, and the points are heading down. It's easier to do that. At 1 inch, you are going to score it, and then you are going to score it again at 9 1/8. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I need my pencil. All right, I got mine. Stick this off to the side. Let's go ahead and fold on this like so. Now let's grab our scissors, and we are going to cut these corners out. This will allow us for this type of a pocket to get more in there. Okay, all we're going to do is slide it just like this. We're going to turn it over, and we're going to tack that down. This is what you should have, and you should be able to have a nice pocket, deep, and it allows for a lot of mats, picture mats in there. Okay, next step. This is the same as this. It's the next one in our paper pack. I know we have one sitting in reserves, but we're going to use this one on the back. It looks like this. let's go ahead and trim off the top. Flip it over, measure over 4 1/8 of an inch, and put the larger piece in reserves. Measure over 7 7/8 and cut it. This should fit nicely, leaving you some room here. We need to get a pocket and our other piece that goes right here. In your reserves, you will have this sheet. On the back is the coffee beans. Let's go ahead and cut out this one. Okay, we're going to use our Toffee Crunch, and we are going to ink around the edges of this. Once you've done that, let's apply glue to this. And we're just going to bring it almost to the top, leaving a little bit of a frame, like that. Next, cut a piece of cardstock that is 3 inches by 6 inches. We're going to go ahead and trim punch along the long ways here. Let's go ahead and get score tape. Place it at the bottom of this panel here. And let's apply this on top of the score tape. And we're going to wrap our edges around the back and tack it down. Let's go ahead and apply glue to the back of this. And we're going to place that right here, leaving a border of our craft cardstock around the edges. So let's find the piece that goes here. In your reserves, you will find a piece that looks like this. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to use this right here, and all I'm going to do is place this down on top of the pocket and use my pencil, and now I'm going to trim it to fit. I'm going to go ahead and apply glue here. Right like this. Now grab a piece of 1/2 inch lace and let's cut it to fit across and glue that down. Now in your reserves you are going to find Enjoy the Moment, and you'll find another one of these small pieces. And all we are going to do is apply some glue, and they're both should be identical in the width. I'm just going to put that right in the middle there, and now I'm going to glue this down. Perfect. Now I'm going to work on the fold out. The next thing that we want to do is cut a piece of cardstock that is 5 1/8 of an inch by 6 1/2 inches. Okay, we are 6 1/2 inches wide. Let's trim punch down this side. Place this on your scoreboard. At 3/4 of an inch, we are going to score. And our second line is going to be at 7/8. And that's where I need to use my pencil to mark it and score it. Get it lined up with the groove here. Okay, let's fold. In your reserves, you will have this piece on the back. It looks like this. This should be, if you were to fold all your flaps back behind, this should be a perfect fit. Okay, now I need you to also cut a piece of cardstock that is 1 3/4 of an inch by 6 1/2 inches. And once you do that, we are going to punch along the long side. Now also in your reserves, you are going to find a strip like this. On the back, it looks like this. Go ahead and place the top even with the top of this, and let's just trim that to fit the same length as that. Now all we need to do is apply glue to this, place this down, like so. You're going to have Crafty showing on either side. And glue that down, making sure you leave some flaps on either side. Okay, once you've got that, let's grab our score tape. Let's apply it down the side of this. And we're going to mount this side pocket, like so. And pull back our flaps and tack that down. Okay, grab this. Your flaps are off to the left and tuck them all back behind. Let's apply glue to the back of this and mount that right on the front. We can go ahead and attach this and then we'll work on that. So all we're going to do is stick that there. I'm going to pinch it and I want it down just like this. And I'm going to tack that down. Move it back. Let's flip it open and work on here. In your paper pack you will find this sheet. We are looking to get at this, but first let's go ahead and trim off the top. So all we're going to do right now, so that we don't have to cut into anything else, let's just remove this 6x6 panel of this, and then we can cut it down. Okay, measure over 1 1/8 of an inch and cut that. We're actually going to put this in reserves and hang on to this. And looking at it like this, measure over 1 1/8 and cut it. This should be a nice fit now that we've cut it down. Okay, now let's just go ahead and glue this down. In your reserves, you will find a strip that says Moments with You. Let's go ahead and just cut that off. We are going to ink around the edges with Toffee Crunch. Moments with You. Okay. Let's grab a piece of lace and cut it to fit. And glue that down right like that. In your reserves, you will find this sheet. Let's go ahead and cut this block out right here. And I'm going to put mine on the paper cutter so I keep that straight. Since we have this out, we're going to divide these up. Let's grab a piece of twine or string. I found some baker's twine. Anything will do. Even some real like 1/16 or 1/8 inch ribbon will work. I'm just using what I have in my stash drawer here. Let's grab a piece of cardstock and we are going to mount it on there, leaving about a 1/16 of an inch frame around this. And then we're going to wrap it with the baker's twine. Keep these off to the side because we'll be using those here in a moment. Alright, I'm going to cut the frame. Okay, I got mine all ready to go. As far as the baker's twine or whatever you've got, I'm just going to wrap this around a couple times. Like so. Okay. Oh, darn my scissors. I've got to redo my bow. So get yours ready. Trim up your tails. I've got to sharpen these scissors. Okay, after a little bit of frustration, my bow coming undone. I did put a little bit of glue under that so it won't come undone. Alright, all we're going to do is place that right there. Just like that. All that work. Woohoo! Okay, we are ready to mount this in our book. I believe and go there. Okay, flip it over. Score tape around the outside, one down the middle, two little ones on either side, and in the book it goes. Page 8. In your reserves, you will find this long sheet on the back. It looks like this. Measure over 8 inches and cut it. Okay, grab a piece of cardstock, measure over 5 inches and cut it. Okay, this is the one that's 5 inches. Now, on this piece, measure over 2.5 inches and cut it. On each one of these, let's go ahead and trim punch the long side on each one of these. Okay, let's grab some score tape and we are going to place the bottom of our page. Let's go ahead and mount this one first. Oops, I'm a little off there. That's all right. We're going to go ahead and pull back the flaps and tack those down. In your reserves, you will find this. Let's go ahead and take this piece off. Okay, measure over 4.5 inches and cut it. Put your small piece in reserves. Let's go ahead and add glue and mount that. Okay, got mine mounted down. Grab a piece of score tape and place it at the bottom of this one. And we're going to create our double pocket, just like this, and tack the flaps around the back. Okay, this is where we should be. We're all tacked down. In your reserves, you will find this piece. Measure over 2 inches and cut it. Now all we're going to do is glue this down. In your reserves, you have your tag sheet. Let's go ahead and cut out Heavenly Scent. Grab one of your velvet minis. This is the one I have. And we are going to ink around the edges of this. And then we are going to mount that on the craft cardstock, leaving our little crafty colored frame around it. So let's get those ready. Let's do one thing at a time. Let's glue this one down right here at an angle. Let's get our velvet mini over here, just like that. I had you set aside these. We are going to just ink around the edges. We're not going to mount it to cardstock. Apply a little bit of glue, and this one just sits right like that. Okay, let's flip it over. Score tape around the outside, one down the middle, two little ones on either side, and mount this in our book. One thing I did forget is the bling. My apologies. We are going to place a strip of bling right across right here. So let's go ahead and trim this to fit and glue that down, and then our page will be complete. In your paper pack, you will find one of these. On the back, it looks like this. Let's go ahead and trim off that top part. Then we're going to measure over 6 inches and cut it. Put this one in reserves. Now this one's done a little bit differently. If you notice that if we were going to measure over 8 inches, we'd be cutting off our coffee cup, and we don't want that. So we're going to build onto our page. We're actually going to measure down 6 3/4 inches and cut it. We definitely need this, so stick that off to the side. Let's build onto this page. Grab a piece of cardstock that if you were just to slip it right back underneath there, it would be long enough for 8 inches. Like my 8 inches would be from top to bottom right here. So this will work, and I'm going to trim this to fit. All we do with this to build up our page is grab a piece of score tape, and where did mine go? Here we go. All we're going to do is place a single strip right at the top, as straight as you can. Okay. Remove it. and you're going to want to try to keep even. So as even as you can. You can always square it up later. All right. Put this on your paper cutter and cut this. Trim it to fit so that you're 6 inches across on this first. Now measure over 8 inches and cut it. In your reserves, you will find this piece. This is the trimmings off the page from before. All we're going to do is glue that right over there, right at the bottom. So let's do that. Now in your reserves, you're also going to find a strip like this, Embrace Life. Looks like that on the back. All we're going to do is place that right on top of this trim so it butts up next to it. We're going to trim it to fit and glue that down. Okay, let's set this off to the side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut the coffee mug out. Okay, I've got mine cut out. Before we go to the next step, let's go ahead with the Toffee Crunch and ink around the edges. Grab a piece of scrap cardstock if you have it, and you are going to glue this down to crafty cardstock. When you glue it down, make sure that you leave enough around, because we are going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch of a frame of crafties showing. And this will reinforce this cup so it's not as flimsy, and it will stand being messed with over time, you know, if we back it. So let's do that and cut it out. Okay, I've got mine cut out. Now you can use score tape. I'm going to use glue on this. I'm getting more brave and braver when using glue. So I'm just going to put a little at the bottom. And then I am just going to put a little, let's see, all the way up this side. Did I do the wrong side? I did. Let's see, I get turned around too. I'm going to wipe that off. It's this side, the side without the handle. Just bring that all the way up there. There. So that this side down here and here has the glue. And all we do here is just place it. For me, because I messed up, I better put some cardstock over here so that it won't stick to my paper. Let it dry a little. Okay. Okay, you have a bunch of tags. We're just going to clip out the warms the soul inside and out. We're going to go ahead and ink around the edges. We are going to mount that to the craft cardstock like we've been doing. So let's get that ready. And we're going to need a blue velvet flower. Okay, let's go ahead and add a little bit of glue here. Don't get it over here. We just want a little dab here so that that can go like that. Add a little bit of glue to my flower and stick it right like that. This page is complete. Let's flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 little ones on either side, and mount it in our book. Page 10. This is a very easy page. Measure over 8 inches and cut it. Grab a piece of cardstock, measure over 4 1/8 of an inch and cut it. There's no trim punching on this. Let's go ahead and mount this. And then we are going to grab a piece out of reserves, and we need our scoring board for this. So let's tuck our flaps around the back and glue that down. In your reserves, you will find this piece on the back. It looks like this. Grab your scoreboard and place it down like this. At 4 inches, score it. And then we're going to fold right on that score mark. Now one thing, if you see a little bit of white or splintering, that happens with any paper when you go against the grain, and it doesn't hurt a darn thing. Let's just go ahead and ink across the top. Now let's measure over 6 inches and cut that. I got mine cut. Now all I have to do is apply some glue underneath this flap to keep it down, and apply glue to the back of this. And we're going to mount this, and it will show a little bit of crafty at the top, like a lip. Those last two pieces that we have, let's ink around the edges of those. All you're going to do is layer them like this. So I'm just going to add a little glue to the back. These go right here. This page is complete. Flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, two little ones on either side, and it goes in our book. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet on the other side. Looks like this. Let's go ahead and trim off that top piece. Measure over 6 inches and cut it. Okay, both sides are here. We're going to take this one and put this one in reserves. Looking at it like this, the squirrels are down here. Measure over 8 inches and cut it. Now, check your scrap pile first, but what we're going to cut is a piece of cardstock that is 4 3/4 of an inch by 8.5 inches. Now, let's trim punch across there. Grab your score tape. We're going to make a pocket, and then we've got our fold outs to do. And let's go ahead and wrap those flaps and tack them down behind here. In your paper pack, you will have this sheet. On the back, it's blue. Let's go ahead and trim this off, and then we're just going to measure 6 inches and cut that. We want this one with the coffee cup. Let's put this in reserves. Measure over 4 1/4 inches and cut it. That's going to cut it right above the top lip of that coffee cup. And let's go ahead and glue that right on down. Grab a piece of cardstock and let's measure over 7 inches. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of room here. 7 inches and cut it. Now measure over 7 and actually measure over 8 inches. That's what we need. Grab your scoring board. We are 7 inches across this way. At 1 1/2 inches, we are going to do our first score. And then at the 1 1/4 is our second score. And then let's fold that. Let's work on the inside of this first. So let's go ahead and trim off the top. And then we are going to measure over 5 1/4 inches and cut it. Stick this one off in reserves. Now measure over 7 7/8 of an inch and cut that. Okay, a small piece goes in reserves. Let's make sure, let's check this. Yours should fit nicely, leaving a border around of the crafty. Let's do our inner fold out on this. Grab a piece of cardstock and we are going to cut a 6 inch by 7 1/4 inch piece. Okay, let's get our scoreboard out. We are 6 inches wide. At 5 1/4 inch, we're going to score first, our first line. And then 5 3/8, we're going to score our second line. I got to make a mark there. And then I'm going to erase it. Let's fold. Whoops. Okay, let's go ahead and attach this. And then we're going to get our paper out. In your paper pack, you will find this on the back. It looks like this. We're going to trim this off, of course, but then we are going to cut this out. This should fit nicely, leaving you a crafty colored border around there. Let's glue that down. Okay, grab a couple magnets. There's one. Let's flip this open. And we're just going to put one right here. We're going to close it, flip it over, right here. Let it find its mate. Just dab a little bit of glue. Okay. We can install this first one to the inside. Remember, your flaps are off to the right. We do have to put the paper on the inside of that one flip here. But let's let that magnet have some time to the glue to catch. So we're just going to mount that right on in there. I'm going to open it up. My magnet may not stay. It did. Okay. Let's get our piece for here. Okay. In your reserves, you will find this dark blue, and on the back is this. Measure over 5 inches and cut it. Okay, the larger piece goes in reserves. Measure over 7 inches and cut it. Now let's glue this down. Okay, we got this glued down. Now, in your reserves, you're going to find this piece. This is our 6 inches wide. That's going to go on our next page, our final page. So we're going to be careful on how we cut this because there's a piece on this I want. Looking at it like this, measure over 4 inches and cut that. This is now our 6 by 8 for our next page. So just set that aside so it doesn't get cut into. This gets glued down right here. So let's glue that down. Okay. Okay, this is ready to get attached. We can work on the outside here in a moment. But let's go ahead and attach this. Once you have it straight, pinch it. And let's tack that down. In your paper pack, you will find this. We're going to trim off this top piece to start. Okay. What I want you to do is from this side, measure 1/8 of an inch and just trim that thin strip off. That cut is going to put you just right outside the handle there because we've got a tight fit here. Okay. I turned mine upside down. Measure over 5 5/16 and cut it. That is going to put you just right on the other side of the R here. This is what you should have. The other side can go in reserves. Now measure over 7 7/8 and cut it. Now before we go any farther, let's check to make sure you got your fold out there. Make sure that this is going to fit. Mine fits perfectly and yours should too. Let's go ahead and get ready to do our suspended pocket. In your scrap pieces of cardstock, you're going to want a piece that's wide enough to give you flaps on either side. And then you're going to measure over this way 1.5 inches and cut it. Let's get our trim punch out and we are going to punch along the long side. Let's grab score tape and we're going to put it at the top of our page. And let's mount this. Making sure you press down, and you're going to wrap those and tack them. Okay, your suspended pocket, you should be able to slide something up in there and shake it and not have it fall out. So as long as you went like this, like I showed you, you should be tight enough. So let's get our piece that fits over the cardstock. In your reserves, you should have a piece that looks like this. And all we're going to do is cut out the striped portion of this. This is what you should have. Now let's measure over 5 1/4 inches and cut that. And then that should fit right across here, and we're going to glue that down. In your reserves, you will find this strip. It says treasure every moment. We are going to go ahead and just cut that. And then we are going to mount that to a piece of cardstock. I have one that's perfect right here, leaving a border around it, and then we're going to glue that down. So I'll show you what that looks like. I've got mine down just like this. You can still see the cream colored stripe above it and the little blue below. Let's go ahead and glue this down now. Okay. We are going to stamp our image with the sunrise lily, and I'm going to tell you how I got these colors. Now I stamped the image with Paris Dusk. Then I did not go around the edges with Paris Dust. I went around the edges with Summer Sky, and then I blotted some of that Summer Sky in there. Then I went around the edges lightly with Toffee Crunch, kind of tone it down just a little bit and a little here and there. And then I attached 2 leaves to it. So that's how that was done. And I'm going to just apply some glue right there. Okay. Also, if you're die cutting, you can use these, and all you do is ink them, and flat back pearl actually went in the middle of this. I didn't use the little sprays, and these are the small domed flat back pearls. I created these 2, and all you do with these, with what you have, is you just put a little glue here and you tack it down, and then you use the next size to do the same thing. You're going to ink them to pretty much, I inked around the edges dark with the Paris Dusk and lightly daubed the Summer Sky and the Toffee Crunch to tone it down a bit. And this one has several layers. If you're not die cutting, you don't even need it. I am going to go ahead and place these though. If you're not die cutting, like I said, don't worry about it. It's not unnecessary. And I'm just going to stick those right like that. Now in your reserves you will find this tag. It's Coffee Equals Life. I inked around the edges, and I'm going to mount that on cardstock. I've got this all ready to go. All you do now with this is slide it just like that and glue it down. Slip it right in there. This page is complete. Turn it over, score tape around the outside, 1 down the middle, 2 small ones, and let's mount that in our book. Okay, I had you set this off to the side. That's our base page. I need you to cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 inches by 7 inches. And once you've done that, we're going to trim across the long side. We're 6 inches this way, 7 inches this way. Our trim's at the top. Let's grab some score tape. Where did I put it? Right here. We have some layering to do after we mount this. So this is an open-ended pocket on one side. So we are going to bring the corner of this to the corner of this page. And I'm off by a hair, that's okay. I'm just going to ink the bottom there. Okay, so we only have a flap off this way. We're going to pull it back and tack it down. In your reserves, you will find this piece on the back. It's the blue. We're going to go ahead and measure over 6 inches and cut that. Mine was just about at 6 inches anyway, so it was just a little hair off I was. Okay, this way. We need to measure over, I just forgot my measurement, 5.5 inches and cut it. Let's glue this down. Okay. Next, in your reserves, you will find this piece. It looks like this on the back. This piece should already be 5.5 inches wide. We're going to measure over this way 4.5 inches and cut that down. Let's go ahead and center and mount this. Next, in your reserves, you will find this. Looks like this on the back. We're just going to put that right dab in the middle there and glue it down. It's longer than this. And then we're going to work on our fold out. Let's set this off to the side for a moment and get some cardstock out. Grab a piece of cardstock, cut a piece that's 6 inches by 6 3/4 inches. Place your piece of cardstock across. We are 6 inches going across. Your first score is going to be at 5 1/8, and our next one is going to be 5 5/16. So let's go ahead and score and fold on those lines. In your reserves, you will find this on the back. It looks like this. Looking at it like this, let's measure over 6.5 inches and cut it. Stick this piece off in reserves. We can turn this over now. Now let's measure over 4 7/8 and cut it. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 2.5 inches by 6.5 inches. We're going to trim punch across the long side. Okay, let's get our score tape out, apply it to the bottom, and we're going to mount our pocket here, leaving flaps on either side, and pulling back our flaps and tacking it down. When we were trimming on the brown for here, you will have a piece like this. It's going to be slightly longer each way. Let's just trim that to fit and just kind of place it down. Put a pencil mark where you need to be to make it fit. And let's go ahead and trim it. Now let's glue that down. In your reserves, you will find a piece like this. Whoops. Measure over 1/2 inch and cut it. Now all you need to do is place it here, make a pencil mark, and we're going to trim that to fit. Can't see right there it is. And glue that down. In your reserves, you will find a tag or a little sentiment, chow your bean, just like that. Let's go ahead and ink around the edges. We're not going to mount it to cardstock. And we're going to apply some glue. and glue that down. Now we're going to go ahead and put this fold out, the inside of this panel to our fold out. Your flaps are to the right on this one. So let's apply some glue. Making sure you don't get on your score lines. Okay. We can attach this now. It actually gets attached to the left side. So all you need to do is get it centered, pinch it, and tack that down. Okay, let's work on this. In your reserves, you will have this sheet. On the back, it looks like this. Looking at it like this, measure over 6.5 inches and cut it. I've got mine turned upside down. Measure over 5 inches and cut it. This should be a nice fit here. Mine is. In your reserves, you will find this on the back. It looks like this. We want this piece here, so let's trim that off. Okay. We are going to trim a little off each side, and it's right on each side here, so this little border is going to go away. You should fit up and down like that, top to bottom. If you're a little short, it's okay. Let's grab a piece of cardstock. You're going to want, and your go look in your reserves. You don't need to cut a fresh piece for this, but you're going to want one that's going to give you some flaps to go around the back. And we're going to do this the easy way. I'm just going to apply glue. And I'm going to center it, and I'm going to bring it over, leaving a little bit of crafty showing. And now I'm going to put it on my paper cutter and cut it. Grab your score tape, put it on the left side of your paper here, and let's mount this. And we're going to tack our flaps around the back. Okay, let's apply glue to the back of this and mount this. Okay, you should have 2 velvet flowers left. Just stick those off to the side. In your tags, let's cut out, I like my sugar with coffee and cream. We're going to mount this to cardstock. You're going to ink around the edges, which I actually forgot to do. So ink around the edges and mount it to your cardstock, leaving your frame around it. Cut it out. Okay, let's dab a little bit of glue off to one side, and we're just going to put that right there. We're going to put a little glue to the ivory colored one, slip that right there, and then the blue one just goes like that. This page is complete. Flip it over, score tape around the outside, 1 down the middle, 2 on either side. Okay, the Dritz. Our book is complete other than you'll have to do your picture mats. Grab your other piece to your Dritz, and I'm going to show you how to attach that. Okay, grab a piece of ribbon or lace, whatever you like. I have about 14 inches here. I like to start off with enough, and then I can trim it down a little. All you're going to do is feed it right through the eyes here, each side. Hot glue is the best, but you can definitely use the white glue. Hot glue just will ensure that you get it tacked down. Now I have mine on its spine right now, and I need to make sure that I have enough room in here for my picture mats. So I'm just going to pull it like this, straight. I'm going to pinch that with my fingers. And I'm going to slip a little hot glue, but please be careful if you need to put a piece of cardstock over so you don't burn yourself. Okay, once I have that, you can do whatever it is that you would like to do. On this particular one, you can slide a charm under here. You can do whatever it is that you would like. You can slide one of these coat hangers through here if you want a coat hanger look to the back of yours, but that's how you would do a charm, the same way. It's just slide it through there, and then you could pull it like that. That's an example. Other than that, what you can do is once you have it like this, you can just dab a little bit of hot glue, again, so you don't burn yourself. Use some cardstock really quick and pull it back. You can do the same thing on that. And then what you would do is put a button here, any type of button. I found a button here. Buttons, I use snips, wire snips, whatever, but of course you're going to want to definitely get off that loop so you can lay flat. I am going to use a white glue for this, and I'm going to let it dry. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you need to get a hold of me, you can email me or message me. That information should be up on the screen here shortly. Thanks. Until the next time we make another one together, happy crafting.